Farm Progress show's dedicated to the bigger stuff. We've had to look hard to find a compact tractor, but we found one here, and my friend Tony from Tony's Tractor Adventure is going to be thrilled. Hey Tony, it's just like yours. At least I think it is. You know, we've been doing comparisons between the Deere 1025R and the Kubota BX2680. I thought it might be worthwhile to go through this tractor a little bit and do some comparison to what we can see here versus what we can see outwardly on the Deere and the BX. Now, we can't operate this tractor, we can't get it out in those big weeds behind me and actually do anything, but we can take a look at things, and there's certain things we can see and point out some differences in features, maybe similarities in features. So with that, let's get started. Let's start on the front here with the bucket. I see that the bucket is smaller than the Deere bucket. It's got that narrower stance like the BX bucket. Bucket level indicator, if you call it that, is just a piece of steel you're supposed to somehow see that's flat from the bucket. I haven't really addressed that on the BX yet, but I just don't find that to be effective at all. Contrast that with the Deere's bucket level indicator, which is a rod that runs up and gives you a much better visibility of bucket level. This particular one is a pin-on bucket, clearly a disadvantage from a ease of adding forks. There is a skid steer quick attachment available, but this one does not have it. As for removing the loader, the feet here, the stands, are on the loader booms. This is similar to the BX. BX has a much nicer approach in that you can reach the lever from the tractor seat to release the stands. This one is manual. You get off the tractor to set these stands. To release the bucket, this one's loose right here. You can actually pull those pins. That's how you release the bucket. So this is a step below what either the Deere or the Kubota BX has. Both of them have little flip-up levers that you don't have to leave the seat. No pins to remove. You don't have to make sure that it's got the pressure off. This is kind of hard to do, to get the pressure off of this. Hard to see in here, but it's got 4 individual hydraulic hookups. That's much like the John Deere, but it's a disadvantage as compared to the BX. This is probably the BX's best feature, in my opinion, is the single-point connectivity. Obviously this one doesn't have it, and to my knowledge no other manufacturer has the single point standard, at least, and I don't believe anyone even has it available other than Kubota on their BX series. The joystick. The least expensive approach to mounting a joystick on a subcompact tractor is to mount it up here next to the hood or on the loader itself, and that's what LS has chosen to do here. Now, they've extended the lever quite a distance, so you're able to get your elbow on the seat. To me, that's a point. I want to be able to set my arm down while I'm using the loader. The most comfortable approach for the user is to have the lever back here down into the fender. It's a more expensive approach, but it's much more ergonomic and much more comfortable. But the length of this lever, the fact that you can actually kind of set your arm down while you're using it, is going to be a pretty good compromise. Twin touch pedals, just like John Deere, and I believe almost every other manufacturer other than Kubota uses the twin touch pedals. 3-point hitch does not have position control. This is like the BX. The Deere does have position control. To me, the position control is an important feature. The platform is flat all the way across. That gives you, pretty good leg room. There is no tilt wheel. When you try it out, if the steering wheel fits you and you're happy with it, then that's fine. But if it doesn't fit, well, it doesn't fit. There's no choices there. The mower deck attachment is very, very similar to the manual non-drive-over BX deck. There's an attachment back here. It looks very, very similar. It comes off in the front almost identically to how the BX works. You would not be able to drive over this deck unless maybe you could remove these plastic shields, but I don't see how you could drive over very easy. These look quite sturdy. I'm pretty happy with that. This is a weak spot from my understanding on the BX deck. Courtney at GoodWorks Tractors has mentioned that he's turned down many, he said, in the hundreds of BX tractors that have broken wheels on the mower deck. But these look sturdy. They look really good. Let's go around and look at the backhoe. From a functionality standpoint, the backhoe should be very similar to the other brands. I really don't have a lot of concern about the function. It's going to be about the same. These backhoes will get the job done for you. I actually recommend them because for a lot of the applications, we don't want to use a shovel. We'd like to have some automated digging, but a front loader bucket just doesn't do the job. It's too big, it's too wide, it's too bulky. A backhoe is a great opportunity for that. Let's look at some specifics here. We can see that it does have latches to keep your outriggers from going down on their own. That's a big help. It has a similar latch here to keep the boom. You can reach this one from the seat. The backhoe attachment mechanism is very, very similar to the other brands at this point. The subframe stays on the tractor. There's a hook that goes over the bottom pin, and the top pin can be loosened with the boom, right, and then slid right in. So that works just like the other brands in that sense. This steering cylinder is just like the Kubota. It's in front, and it has these little boots on it. This is almost identical to the way the Kubota BX is made. From a lift capacity standpoint, we've talked about how the numbers oftentimes are confusing or not even helpful. That's what we're seeing here. The only lift capacities they list are at the pivot pin, right, which is the pin back here. It's not practical at all. We need to know how much we can lift in the bucket, or 20 inches ahead of the pivot pin. Same with the breakout force. They show it only at the pivot pin, and it's really hard to see then what the breakout force, the amount you can lift at ground level, could be. It would be best if we could give this tractor a little test, but that's just not possible in a trade show booth like this. But I hope you've seen some of the features, or in this case, lack thereof. This is a simple tractor. It's going to cost less because it has the minimal feature set. I really have no concerns about the powertrain. It's going to be fine. You won't have any issues in that regard. You just won't have the more advanced features, the easier attachability, which I find very important with one of these tractors. You're often switching between loader and backhoe and mower. You're trying to use these little tractors for everything. I call it the ultimate transformer toy. This is not a good transformer, or at least not as good a transformer as the major two brands. Okay, hope you find that helpful. We're going to go on to another Farm Progress Show adventure. So now we're over in the New Holland booth. We're looking at the Workmaster. This is their subcompact tractor. Wanted to show you that in this particular episode because it is identical to the LS tractor we've been looking at. All the ergonomics are the same, locations are the same for everything. Twin touch pedals are identical. The controls over here are identical. This is an LS tractor. This particular one doesn't have a loader on it, but it does have the mid-mount mower deck. I just don't see any difference except for maybe a slight different change in color. It's a subcompact tractor.
Only in seating position. It's got a roll cage and I sit up high. But
it's four-wheel drive.
yeah.
It's got a 3-point hitch, PTO.
No, I know. I look at
Convince me, Glenn.
the deck, the support. Look at the support arms for the deck. Look at the front arms for the. Other than it being four-wheel drive, I would think my 1984 John Deere 400 says capable. This does not look like a subcompact to me.
Well, Glenn, it's going to be hard for me to try to sell you a New Holland Workmaster anyway.
Yeah.
So his point is it's an overgrown garden tractor, right?
That's what it looks like to me, yeah. And not even that overgrown.
So since you're thinking this is overgrown lawn tractor, I think we need to take you over and see the LS, which has the loader and the backhoe on it, and see if you think it looks different size.
That way?
Yeah.
Good idea.
Be interesting. Okay, Glenn, so this same tractor,
Yes, it is.
does it look like garden tractor now?
It has a look to me like if I took a 700 series garden tractor from John Deere, put a backhoe and a bucket on it. It does look a lot different now with these on it. I will agree with you there. I don't know if it's the shape of the hood.
Yeah. Well, it's not very tall.
Yeah.
It really isn't very tall.
Yeah. Its seating position and a roll cage makes it look like a compact to me. Otherwise, it really looks to me like a garden tractor. And that's not to say for the right person, it might be just what they need.
Most of the subcompacts do look that way to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell. Even in the Deere series, the X700 versus the 1 series, there's not a lot of difference in size. They got the same size tires front and back.
Right.
A little bit shorter wheelbase and a little bit tighter turning radius on the garden tractor, but that's it.
But again, it goes back to what you need. It's always talking about skid loader versus compact with a bucket. This still beats a shovel all day long.
Oh my goodness, it absolutely does.
That beats a spade all day long.
Absolutely. So these tractors, the LS and the New Holland, basic tractors. They are less expensive than the full-featured Deere and Kubota models, but there's a reason for them being less expensive. The controls, the ergonomics, much more basic. much more limited. We haven't had a chance to test out the capabilities, but I expect them to be very similar to the rest of the subcompact tractors. We see a lot of similarities in this particular category, probably more so than any other size of tractors. I hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. You're making me get my knee wet, Christy. All the sacrifices I have to do for this channel.